Awesome. Thank you for being here. You know, daylight savings time in the month of August, pastors can't stand because everybody is gone in August, but not you guys. You are the number 10 on the Christian meter right now. So good job, you guys. Also, I take the Bible very literally. If you don't know me, when God says be the light to the community, I took him literally with my shoes. So I will guide us, even if all the lights go off. They glow in the dark, and I will guide you in this light. Hey, real quick, how about the Olympics? Women's basketball. I watched it this morning. How cool was that? That was awesome. Men's basketball and then women's. That was exciting. It was awesome. But in 4 years, guys, LA gets the Olympics. And I've already got the slogan for it. Okay, ready? Los Angeles. Come for the taxes, stay for the crime. What do you think? Maybe? We'll see. I don't know. Well, maybe they'll hire me for that. I'm not sure. But we're so glad that you're here this morning. We have been talking a lot about these core questions, primal questions. A couple weeks ago, we talked about, am I loved? Last week, we talked about, am I even wanted? And so we're going to continue on this path. But have you ever done something and you're experiencing some success in it, and you want to share it because you want somebody to see how successful you're doing? Like, have you ever invited somebody to church? Like, you got plugged into church. You really love it. It's something that you're really passionate about. You feel like you're growing. And so you invite somebody with you, and you cannot wait for them to get to church. And you're like, okay, I can't wait for you to come and see all the stuff that I've been doing. And you walk through, and you're getting really, really excited. You cannot wait, and the worship is great. And then the pastor comes up, and the pastor says, now we're going to be talking about tithing. And you're like, no, come on. I finally get this person to church, and now you're talking about something nobody wants to talk about right now. Come on. And it's frustrating. I remember my brother and I, we got plugged into a church years ago, and it was a great church. And it was really doing some great stuff in our lives, and we couldn't wait to show my parents. My parents always wanted us to get plugged into church. They loved Jesus, and they wanted us to love Jesus as well. And so we took him to church, couldn't wait to get them there. Vic's already laughed because he knows. And my mom... and we go, man, I can't wait. It's great. You're going to love every part of it. And my mom gets in there, and right off the jump during worship, she's like, do you like it? She goes, You see, my mom grew up Pentecostal. So she had her tambourine ready to go, you know, and she's like, everybody's boring. They're like, la, blee, blee, Jesus. And she's like, I'm like, no. Like, you have to, but it's so good, and I wanted her to see how good we were doing, and I felt like, man, if you don't like this, then you don't really see that I'm doing so well in this church, and we wanted to show her that. And I think we have that for a lot of things. We could have that for, maybe you want to see your parents, you want them to see your game, and you don't get to play in the game, and then you feel like, well, that was a waste. Or you work really hard on a project, and your boss doesn't acknowledge it, and you go, what do you think? And your boss goes, it's good. Because you want to show them, I am good. I am successful. I can measure up. And that's the problem, guys, is that we feel like we're not measuring up, guys, and we do this with everything in our lives. When Melanie and I first got married, we lived in an apartment complex, and that complex had a gym. And Melanie would go into the gym every morning to jog and on the treadmill. And I would say, how's it going? And she goes, it's going well. But what the lady that was next to Melanie didn't know was Melanie had a name for her, and that name was my nemesis. The lady never met Melanie, but Melanie's like, I gotta beat my nemesis. She had no idea who this lady was, but she wanted to jog just 1 minute longer than that lady. And she wanted to sweat just a little bit more than that lady, because at some point, she wanted that lady who didn't even know who she was to say, I'm good at this too. And we have this in our core. We all want to be perceived as that. You know, you can tell that when you're about your 40s or 50s, they call it midlife crisis, okay? And that is, at this point in my life, I should have a white picket fence. I need to have a husband or a wife. I need to have these number of children. I need the dog. I need to have, my house needs to look like this. My cars need to look like this. And if they don't look like this, I'm not winning. And I'm not successful. And what's wrong with me? If you have a home, it's not big enough. If you live in an apartment, I should live in a condo. If you live in a condo, I should live in a house. If you live in a house, I should have a bigger house. Why? Because my neighbors have all that stuff, and I need to have that to be successful. And if I don't have that, then I'm not very successful, and I'm not winning. And that's kind of what we're really going to be talking about today, guys. You see, we do this even with our family, with our kids. We want to make sure if the neighbor kid gets an e-bike, I got to make sure my kid gets an e-bike. If they get this, I got to make sure my kid gets this. They got the new Nikes, I got to make sure my kid gets the new Nike. Whatever it is, I've got to make sure they have it too, because that's part of my success. My success also has to do with them. And when that happens, guys, here's the problem. Who you are is overcome by what you do. So who you are isn't about who you are anymore. It's based on what you do or what you have. Okay? And so your family doesn't become this cohesive community where you guys love each other and you're supporting each other. Your family becomes something that you often feel like you're not winning in. My kids should be here and they're here. Gosh, I'm not winning at this. I should be here and I'm only here at this age. I should be better. Says who? So we're going to break this down like we've been breaking down this entire... I am hot. I feel like a Baptist Southern preacher right now. I'm just like, I need my cloth. I'm hot in here. Yeah, preach. Okay. So we're going to break it down into the imprint, the scramble, and the primal avoidance. So we're going to be talking about somebody in the Bible, and he's found in the Old Testament, and he asks these questions: have I achieved enough? Am I accomplished enough? And am I successful? Now, this person is Solomon. Now, Solomon is David's son, and David, this guy, all he does is win. He started from a kid, and he's grown up, and he's well known. He's one of the most famous kings of Israel. He's a warrior. He is connected to God in amazing ways. In fact, God himself says David is a man after my own heart. I mean, this guy is just connected. But if you're Solomon, that's going to be a hard thing to follow. I'm not sure I want to follow that. Now, David is constantly teaching Solomon, here's what you need to do to be a good ruler and a good leader. 1 Chronicles 28 says this: and you, Solomon, my son, know the God of your father and serve him with a whole heart and with a willing mind. For the Lord searches all hearts and understands every plan and thought. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will cast you off forever. Be careful now, for the Lord has chosen you to build a house for the sanctuary. Be strong and do it. Again, his dad just keeps winning and winning and winning. He's a legend. And Solomon's just kind of freaking out, going, I don't know how I'm going to follow him. He's just so good. And right before David dies, he gives him specific instructions on what he is expected to carry on. In 1 Kings 2:1, it says, when David's time to die drew near, he commanded Solomon his son, saying, I am about to go the way of all the earth. Be strong and show yourself a man. And keep the charge of the Lord your God, walking in his ways and keeping his statutes, his commandments, his rules, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do and wherever you turn. That the Lord may establish his word that he spoke concerning me, saying, if your sons pay close attention to their way, to walk before me in faithfulness with all their heart and with all their soul, you shall not lack a man on the throne of Israel. Now, David is telling his son, you got to make sure that you are following what I'm telling you to do. If you do this, you will be successful. And Solomon starts off asking for the right things. We see this in 1 Kings 3:7. And now, O Lord, my God, this is Solomon, you have made your servant king in place of David, my father. Although I am but a little child, I do not know how to go out or come in. And your servant is in the midst of your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too many to be numbered or counted for multitude. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil, for who you are, or for who is able to govern this your great people. So, yes, Solomon is asking for wisdom, which is great, which is awesome, and it starts off great. But Solomon's also a human being who has massive insecurities, who is thinking, how in the world am I going to live up to my dad? And so he goes about it in a different way. You see, David trusted God, whereas Solomon is trusting stuff. And if I give you the appearance of being successful, then I am successful. David was successful in here. Again, God says he's a man after my own heart. Solomon says, I want to give the appearance of being successful because I care more about what other people think. Okay? So he builds these extravagant projects. He has an extensive trade network. and he builds great alliances. And he does all of these things, whether he has the funds to do them or not. He just keeps building and building and building to show everybody how successful he is. Guys, this county is filled with Solomons. Just is. You don't have the money, so put it on credit, you know. And if I get in trouble, I'll just, collect bankruptcy later or whatever. But I've got to show that I'm successful. I've got to show everybody what I have. That's why my house isn't good enough, or my cars aren't good enough, or my things aren't good enough. I want to show everybody how successful I am. So whether we have the money for it or not, it just doesn't matter. We're going to buy it anyway. You see this with people with their kids, pushing their kids. Look, I love sports and I love kids' sports. I think it's a great lesson to learn. But some of these parents are living vicariously through these kids and putting them through program after program after program. And it's just overwhelming. That kid's going to grow up thinking I've got to be busy constantly because my parents have pushed all this stuff on me over and over and over. So Solomon is taking on these big, giant projects. It doesn't even have the funds for it at some point. He just starts building. The bigger, the better. You think this guy's maybe compensating for something? I don't know what you were thinking. I was thinking about projects that are bigger. Sinners. Okay. 1 Kings 5:13. Look what I mean by that. King Solomon drafted forced labor out of all Israel, and the draft numbered 30,000 men. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month in shifts. They would be a month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of the draft. Now in 1 Kings 9:20, it says, all the people who were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, who were not of the people of Israel, their descendants who were left after them in land, whom the people of Israel were unable to devote to destruction, these Solomon drafted to be slaves. And so they are to this day. And then in 2 Chronicles 2:17, and then Solomon counted all the resident aliens who were in the land of Israel after the census of them that David his father had taken. And there were found 153,600. 70,000 of them he assigned to bear burdens, 80,000 to quarry in the hill country, and 3,600 as overseers to make the people work. Okay, now here's why all of this is important. Because not only is he doing this to the Israelites, he's also enslaving other people. He is enslaving them. He is forcing them to do this labor to make him look good. That is not the instructions his dad gave him. His dad said, follow God. He's like, I don't think so. I want to look great, and I'm going to force these people. He prioritized projects over people, and that will make a terrible leader any day of the week. If you have people that are in your life that are above you, that are prioritizing projects over people, they are not leaders, they are managers. Okay, so he is not leading very well at all. And this leads him to a primal avoidance. Now, he so desperately does not want to be perceived as an underachiever, or he's not very good, or especially as his dad. So he wants the appearance of success. And when you try to go for the appearance of success, it's a game you will never, ever win. You will never attain it. You won't, because there's always going to be something new. There's always going to be something better. You're just going to be chasing. It's like those gamblers in Vegas who think the next hand's the winning hand. The house always wins. You're never going to get that you think you're going to get. It's a constant pursuit, and all you're doing is you're trying to impress everybody, but you're spending more and more money, and you're still not going to get what you want. You could have the appearance of success, you could have lots of money in the bank, but it takes one bad economy turn, or it takes one generation of people who do not know how to handle that money. It's all gone anyway. And I know that a lot of people in this area try to look like they have the appearance of success because they have some money, so they want to. Listen, we all get older and flabbier and more wrinkly. I know some people that may have all these surgeries that kind of look like, they're going 2,000 miles an hour. It's like, you're not fooling anybody. I know you're 90. It's cool. You made it to 90. Celebrate it, right? So, but a lot of times we want this appearance. And since Solomon wants this appearance, he wants that more than God's approval at this point. Now, this happens a lot to people. What they do, and I've seen this a zillion times, they get to church, they get plugged in, they start reading the Bible, they start getting to a daily devotion, they start serving, they get really into it because they need church and people. The second they get the job or the money or the relationship, boom, they're gone. Why? Because church is something for people that need help, and I don't need help. I'm good now. I'm all set. And then if I get into trouble, or if I get in, a financial situation, or if I get a bad diagnosis, I'll go back, sure, but I'm good now. And that's kind of where Solomon is at this point. I'm good. I'm good. Look at everybody sees me as having all of this stuff. And the problem with that, guys, is then your God becomes you. Now, for Solomon found himself questioning the true value of his success and questioning God. He is so wrapped up in his image, and we see where this dangerous rabbit hole takes him. 1 Kings 11:4 says, "For when Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after their other gods. And his heart was not wholly true to the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. Solomon went to Ashtoreth, and the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. So Solomon did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and did not wholly follow the Lord, as David his father had done. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and for Molech, the abomination of the Ammonites, on the mountain of East Jerusalem. And so he did for all his foreign wives, who made offerings and sacrificed to their gods." So in striving for success, he forgets God, and he goes after all these different things. And again, we see this a lot in today's day and age. Now, you might not recognize any of those names that he's doing all of this stuff at, but it's very, very clear. So you could literally say the God of materialism, the God of vanity, or whatever. You could say all these different things that are going to get to us. It doesn't have to be these words that I butchered. It could be, stuff that gets to us today. Vanity, clearly. Vanity gets them every time, right? Ecclesiastes 1:2. "Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What does man gain all the toil at which he toils under the sun?" Solomon actually describes it later on as chasing the wind, meaning I can't get it. I can't get it. I want it, but I can't get it. And what Solomon ends up doing is, at the pursuit of this appearance of success, he becomes miserable. Guys, there are entertainers out there that are miserable. They make all the money on the planet. Miserable. Because they're chasing the thing, and when they got the thing, they're not fulfilled. And this was supposed to fulfill me, and it's not. So they chase all these different things, chasing the wind. Now, if Solomon is totally miserable and totally lost, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like success to me at all. So the big question to think about today, and what Solomon realizes, is what if true success isn't about achieving or winning? If true success comes from the contentment you have in your life, then how do we make the shift? And today we're going to go over quickly 3 things that you could come over and leave today, and maybe your bank account looks exactly the same, but when you leave today, you're going to feel far more successful. And the first one is seek contentment beyond achievement. Now, for Solomon, and maybe for you, it starts with acknowledging that there is limits to worldly success. You could only have so much money because you only have this much time on earth. All of us. I've done way too many funerals to tell you that this is going away. At some point, we're all going to have a funeral. Everybody in this room is going to have a celebration of life. Okay? It's going fast. You can only spend so much money in this world, and then it's gone. There's a limit to it. Okay? Again, nothing wrong with having money. Nothing wrong with being successful. That's great. But if that's what you're chasing, you're never going to be fulfilled. You're never going to quench that thirst. See, accomplishments and achievements can bring temporary satisfaction and recognition, but they will never provide lasting fulfillment. It's an expiration date on it. And we see this. Solomon has all these great, massive projects, but they're all temporary. In Ecclesiastes 2:24, it says, "There is nothing better for a person that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. For apart from him, who could eat or who can have enjoyment?" It's true. If I don't have God, guys, it's all just a show. It's not, you're just going through the motions. You're trying to do the best you can, but it's God that gives you that fulfillment. I love it how Paul explains this later in the New Testament in Philippians 4:11. "Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I could do all things through him who strengthens me." And in a lot of versions it says, "I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Okay, I could do that. As long as I've got God, I'm okay. If I'm living in a tiny apartment, but I've got God, it doesn't matter. If I'm living with my parents and I got God, it doesn't matter. I've got God, and he knows what he's doing. He'll figure this out. I just got to trust him. He knows no matter how much or how little, as long as I've got, I'm good. That was the first one. Seek contentment beyond achievement. The second is commit to spiritual growth. And in order for Solomon to shift from his pursuit of external success, he had to deepen his relationship with God. Now, here's a really cool little cheat sheet of what you could do to really commit to your spiritual growth. And here it is. There's daily devotion, and there's regular worship, prayer, and meditation. So daily devotion, talk to him. Prayer, worship regularly, regular worship. You don't have to just be at church. This is a great place to do that, but you could be anywhere and have worship. Do it in the car. Do it with other people. Just make sure you're constantly worshiping God. And then meditation. Guys, don't read the Bible just to get through the Bible. Nobody cares, by the way. Okay? If you've read the Bible and you go tell people, I read the whole Bible, nobody cares. You got to make sure that you're living it. Because if you're not living it, it doesn't matter. It's just a book. But if you're living it, that's where the fruit is. That's the good stuff. Meditation. Okay? All of these things, what they all have in common is you're taking your attention off of yourself and you're putting it onto God. Now, I have grown a lot since I've been the pastor here at South Hills Church. Okay? And it has nothing to do with my title because God can care less about man-made titles. They mean nothing to God. It's just a title. The reason I've grown so much is that I've been a pastor before, a campus pastor, but it was a video venue. And if you've ever seen a video venue, it's basically a person comes out and they introduce the video, and then you see it from another place, and then you come back up, and that's over, right? I didn't really, invest in the word constantly or daily. That was the other guy's job who was teaching. I was just introducing, The reason I've gotten so close to God during my time here is because I'm forced to get into the word every day. That's why. Nothing to do with my title. God does not care about titles. They're totally irrelevant to him. The reason I'm getting close to God is because I'm forcing myself because I have to prepare a message for you. And guys, there are many times I don't want to get in the Word. I'm in a bad mood. I'm frustrated. Something's not right in my life. I'm tired. I'm busy. I don't want to get in the Word, but I force myself every day to prepare for the message. And every day when I'm done, I feel more connected to God. There's power in the Word of God. Again, God's Word does not need us to change it. His Word is given to us to change us. I love how this is framed in 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. Give thanks in all circumstances. For this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. I want you to understand something. Do you notice how each one of these is a verse? Rejoice always, verse 16. Pray without ceasing, verse 17. Give thanks in all circumstances, verse 18. They're all separate verses, but they all go together. But what this is saying is you need all of it. Don't just do one of those things and go, I don't understand why I'm not connected to God. You got to do all of it. You got to make sure that you're talking to him. You're seeking him. Okay? So the first was seek contentment beyond achievement. The second is commit to spiritual growth. And the third one is pursue personal connection over public recognition. And when Solomon needed what he needed more than anything was actually authentic relationships. And if you notice, seeking contentment beyond achievement, commit to spiritual growth, and pursue personal connection over public recognition all have a specific meaning in place. Now, it is not his destination. It's not like if you do these three things, you'll be rich. If you do these three things, you'll find the love of your life today at 5 o'clock. A lot of us want a quick fix. Tell me how to be good, and then let me read that so then I can hurry up and be good. It doesn't work that way. I know people trying to push books or trying to push their brand will tell you that. The 3 keys to a great life, that's hogwash, okay? It's the journey of these things that will transform your life. It's the journey of doing it. That's not the destination. This isn't like, okay, I did it, now give me what I want. It's the journey of living like this that God will constantly show you what he has next for you. It's that journey. Success is about growing, and that's how you grow. Nobody, I don't care who you are, has it all figured out. Nobody. I know there are people that think they do. They do not. Every single Christian on this planet does not have it figured. Everyone is a journey. And if they do think they have it all together, then they have a pride issue, and there's another story of that. Okay? So spiritual growth, that's what it is, and personal connection with others. Now, would it be nice to have a mansion and servants and all the money in the world? That sounds great. But if somebody says, I'm going to give you all of that, but I'm taking away your relationship with Melanie, your daughters, and your church family, I don't want it. So what good is it? So I've got all this stuff. That stuff gets old. What makes that stuff interesting is the people you have around you, and you don't need a mansion for that. You just need to appreciate who God's put in your life. Here's the truth, guys. You didn't need to come in today, honestly. You can get a study on Solomon and figure a lot of this stuff out on your own. You can Google it and try to learn on the study. You could do that. And I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people have gotten used to just watching church online. Let me make something very clear. I love that we have that option for people who simply can't be here. I want to preface that because there are people with physical ailments. There are people that are just too far right now. And there are people that that are on vacation or whatever. They want to stay connected. It makes sense for that. But there are other people who have used online as their church. That's not what it is, guys. Because what you don't understand is, and a lot of people do this, they'll just flip from speaker to speaker. I'm going to watch this person from Dallas on this time, and then I'm going to watch this person from Georgia, I'm going to watch this person from California, and these are all the greatest speakers in the world, and I'm going to accumulate a lot of knowledge, and then I'm going to post a verse on social media and says, pray if you agree, and all this other stuff, and that'll be what I do. In all of that, you're not making one bit of a difference to anybody. You're not. You're not in the game. You're not making a difference. You're just floating around. Satan doesn't care about that. But when you show up and you start to develop these relationships, that's where you grow not only spiritually, but you grow emotionally and physically with these people. That's the joy. That's the joy. So if you're wondering, how can I be successful today? Here are some questions you can ask. And if you're not going to have time to write it, but I would encourage you to take a picture of it. What if you started to believe you are successful because of who you are, not because of what you have achieved or accomplished? What would it look like for you to not see work as your identity, but rather your way of making the people and the world a better place? What would life look like if you learned to enjoy every day, not only the days where you accomplish or achieve something? What if you spent less time asking if you're successful and realized that your life is full of inspiring wins, big, small, and supersized? What if life became less about keeping score and more about helping people win? Because that's what you do best, guys. When you are at your best, you don't just help yourself win, you help everyone win, and people in your life need you. That is why it's important to develop relationships. You need to make sure that you're around other people. They need you. So if you're just accumulating a bunch of stuff, or you're going to church and you're just watching this and you're leaving, you don't really do anything with it, people in this room need you. If you look around, somebody is needing what you have right now. We all need this. Okay? Guys, I'm going to be very, very honest with you. My first 7 years of being a campus pastor, I wasn't keeping the main thing. And there's a reason for it. Because it was a situation where it was based on numbers. If your numbers were big, you're successful. If your numbers aren't so big, you're not successful. And what I was doing was I was missing what God was trying to do in the church. And I say trying to do because he wasn't getting a whole lot of help from me. Because I was more consumed with, we've got to get the numbers up because look what these people have and look what these people have. I mean, Christmas and Easter were like election night results. What do we got? You know? Oh, we only had X amount. Uh-oh, we better be good. And there was, honestly, if I'm being super honest, there was a culture of competition. They wanted us to compete because we were all like growing at this accelerated rate. And nobody stopped to think about, what about getting to know the people? I try to do my best, but honestly, I was always I got to hit this number. Guys, I don't know what our numbers are. People have asked me before, what are your numbers? I don't know. I never count them, ever. I don't look at them. I know that I want our church to grow, and I look forward to us growing when we have our grand opening, we start doing more publicity and all that stuff. But I don't know about the numbers because I'm not really interested about data line sheets. And I know, I've heard pastors say this before, and you count your tithing, so why don't you count your attendance? And we count people because people count. Those sound like nice fortune cookie little statements, but here's the deal. If you don't know those people you're counting, what does it matter? I'm going to say that again in the camera. If you don't know the people on those data sheets, then what does it matter? That's my version of success. And I'm just going to tell you right now, guys, I don't know what our numbers are. I know that there are churches that are much bigger. You can go right up the street. There's a huge one there. There's a lot of bigger churches. But here's the deal. Am I successful as a pastor? Yes. Is this church successful? Yes. I give you a lot of examples, but I'm going to close with one. We had a woman in our church who has been through hell the past couple of years. And I mean hell. She had to slowly watch her daughter slowly die. Taking care of her. And then eventually she lost her daughter. And then she lost her granddaughter, moved. And so her whole family base was gone. And I reached out to her because I could tell she was starting to, I haven't seen her in a while. So I said, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? And she said, Pastor James, I don't know if sometimes when I get up in the morning, I'm thinking, why do I want to get ready and do all that stuff and then go to church only to come back home? It's just, I don't know if I could just keep doing it. And we had a really, really good talk. And I said, the best way to get through this is just to invest in somebody else. Because if you keep thinking about what's happening to you, you're never going to want to leave this house, ever. And nobody would blame her, by the way. She's been through a nightmare of the past several years. She called me and said, I'm going to be at church. And then I found out the next day that Christina said she volunteered in my ministry. Okay, great. Then that was a Sunday. The Monday, I get a text from her early in the morning. And she said, Pastor James, I was wondering if I could have Denise's phone number. Denise is Darren's wife. And if you've noticed, we all wear, if you want one of these, by the way, please let us know. We can get you one of these blue ALS bands for Darren. Darren's been diagnosed with ALS, and so we're here to support him in any way we can. And so if you want one of these blue wristbands, please write it on your card. We'll make sure we get you one. And I said, do you know her? And she said, no. And I said, well, why do you need her number? And she said, because my brother had ALS, and I would like to call her or text her and see if I could be of service to her. Or I could just go stay with Darren and just hang out with him. And she said, quote, it's my turn to give back. This is someone that had a lot of excuses not to give back. But she says it's my turn to give back. And she wants to be there for this family. Are we successful? Absolutely. 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 Is God going to continue to grow this church? Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, you are here for a reason, and it's not about you. I know, that we're in a culture that wants to say it's all about me, it's all about me. It actually isn't. It's about who can I invest in? Who can I feed into? And I'm sorry, but you cannot do that being latent and lazy and using online as your church source. You got to show up. Again, I love it if you're out, but if you have the ability and if you can, you need to be here. I'm so honored that I get to be in a church with people like this. And even seeing my brother Darren, who has a zillion reasons not to come to church and watch it online. That's made for people that are going through tough stuff like Darren. To be here every week. If he's the only one that shows up, I'm here every week, giving it everything I got. And I will feel like we are succeeding. So guys, when we leave today, start to think about that. Start to think about, am I successful? And if you're looking at your bank account or your house, your cars, okay, whatever, that all goes away. But if you're looking at like, I'm actually feeding into somebody else, I'm part of something that's growing, I'm part of building a church, yeah, you are successful. Let's pray. Father, I just thank you so much for your church. God, I thank you that I get to be here amongst unbelievable people. God, I know your hand is clearly on this church, clearly on this church. Father, I know you've got very big plans, and we're at the very beginning of stages of something that's unbelievable. God, this is historic what you're doing here. You're laying the groundwork for something so special and so unique, God. And I am just honored that I get to be part of what you're doing in your church. I thank you so much that you just don't look at our possessions or what we have or our Instagram accounts, but you look at our heart and you say, I can use you. I'm going to use you. You've got a plan for every single person, whether they know it or not, God. And I thank you that we get to be here side by side celebrating what you are going to do in your church using regular, imperfect, flawed people. It's in your very precious name, God. Amen.
South Hills Church, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for watching our service online. Whether you're watching it for the first time or you're watching it again because you enjoyed the service so much from the weekend, I'd like to take a moment and dive into our giving. Every week we give people the opportunity to give back and give to the local church so that God can continue to bless your lives and bless your finances. Here at South Hills, we believe that everything comes from God. We believe that He's the one that chose us and brought us into this world, gave us our gifts and talents and abilities. And I just want you to know that when we give, we are giving back what God has already given to us. If you've ever seen any of our envelopes at a South Hills campus, you'll see on there that it says, every week at South Hills, your generosity is giving people the opportunity to live a better story. And there's a scripture on there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21 that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I want to encourage you today to click down below and set up your giving, whether it's for the first time or whether you're doing reoccurring giving. We have 4 ways to give here at South Hills. 1, you can do it in person at any of our campuses through an envelope. Or 2, you can actually text any amount that you would like to 84321. And the 3rd way is to download our Church Center app. I encourage you to do this one because the Church Center app gives you opportunity to stay connected with our church and your campuses. It's a great tool and resource for you to know what's going on. And the 4th way to give is to give online. You can go to southhills.org/give and you can set up your giving there. Whether you're a guest of our church or whether you are a member of our church, or whether you simply just like to watch our services, I encourage you to trust God with your finances so that He can bless and anoint your finances, and you can be trusting God in this journey of living life to the fullest. I love you, and thank you for watching our online service today.